Hello and welcome once again to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. I am your host, The Monster, back once again to give you some sci-fi news for this week. And right off the bat, I'm just letting you know that this is not going to be kind of an uplifting episode, so to speak. Just because of a lot of things has happened over the past week. And for right now, it's been tough to kind of get through things just on everyday level. But if you are not aware, I lost my cousin, Pam, on my birthday. And she's about a year younger than me, and we grew up with each other back in the Bronx where we used to live. And with my other cousin Ralph, who did the podcast with me a couple of weeks ago, not a couple of weeks, but a couple of months ago. And the three of us were basically our brother and sisters. We were the closest that we can ever be. Since we were all only children, I should say, we each had our first child be a girl, and each one of them were named after an A, the letter A. Amber, Ashley, and my daughter Angela. So, and we were all about a year apart from each other. So she unfortunately had a problem with alcoholism, which runs through my family. And she started pretty young, and she left, two children behind. She lived a very hard life. She had not a great upbringing. As much as, there was a lot of love, there was just still a lot of stuff that made her go into a different direction. And, unfortunately it led to other things. And basically, I wanted to just cut that part out of my life because I could not have that be part of my life. And not that I regret it, but I would have thought that if this was of importance to her, that not having me in her life or in my cousin's life anymore, that there would be a way for her to kind of get back to us. And she's tried several times, but it never stuck. And, I saw her about a year ago with my cousin because we all thought that things were going to get really bad for her to the point that she wasn't going to make it. But she lived on another year, and, it took a toll on her. It really aged her to the point where she looked more older than I was, like by 20 years. So it's hard to not feel sad about that, because that's, again, a life wasted, a life never fulfilled. And she had lots of great skills and talents that I wish she just used those things to kind of get her through life rather than taking the easy way out. And I'm always mindful of what I try to do with my time and with the people around me, and try to maximize what I can to the full benefit. And it's hard. I'm working full time. I have 2 children. I just went to my daughter's high school orientation yesterday with my wife, and I'm getting to a home stretch with her in the next 4 years. She'll be 18, and my son, who will be going into the 3rd grade, is still a ways off, but again, things do find a way of creeping up a lot quicker as older as we become in life. And again, I just turned 48. So not that it's a special number, but now I am linked to me by her death every year as of it as a reminder to kind of keep on going and keep on living and keep on pushing myself. And I've always felt that way, not because I don't know. Part of me is driven for a number of different reasons, but you know, we are all on this planet for a short time. And I finished the graphic novel that I was reading by Scott McCloud called The Sculptor. One of the lines that he wrote, and it stuck with me, was that we all have a number. And he's referring to the number of days that we have on this earth, on this planet, that we live every day with an X amount of numbers, and we don't know what that number is, but we all have it. Now, in the story, and I'm blanking out here, I think its name is David. David was a struggling artist who made a deal with death that in 200 days he would die, but within that 200-day window, he would have this ability to sculpt and create anything, and basically it would immortalize him. And along the way, you know, he was able to sculpt like anything and everything. Not so much like clay into, you know, fantastic shapes or whatever, but things that you would never think that he can be able to sculpt, like rocks or buildings for that matter. He's able to use his powers to kind of sculpt and become kind of famous, but along the way, you know, he does meet someone who kind of helps him along this journey. And unfortunately, you know, things happen that it doesn't go smoothly. But my question was to myself, and in finishing this book, was that here I am wanting to create something just like David is. And he's pushing every day to do something more and more and more. And yet he has this love on the side. And he's trying to not so much put it together, but it's nice that if he had it together, it would have been a more fulfilling life. So my thing with me is that, again, I'm doing this podcast. I still need to do my writing that I've been putting off for so many years, is to continue doing this, but I'm also raising a family. So I'm trying to kind of balance this in a sense that it all goes together, and it's not always easy. I was listening to Larry Wilmore on Fresh Air with Terry Gross yesterday, and he talked about at this point in his life, because his kids are a bit older, he was able to be in this great mindset to kind of give more to the show that he's in right now. But before, he would always be mindful of having that balance, having the quality of life be more for president rather than taking a job, not taking a job, even if it meant more money, meaning that if it was going to take him away from his family, then that wasn't going to work for him. But in the meantime, he was kind of gearing himself towards that one direction, which he now has the nightly show on Comedy Central. So I'm kind of hoping that hearing that and still working on, you know, doing my craft on podcasting and reading, which is another thing that I have not been doing, but I have been doing lately, is reading, to get me more back into writing. And once that writing aspect comes in, I can kind of keep pushing myself in that direction. And then when my kids hopefully are old enough to take care of themselves, I'm able to do things along the way that I've been wanting to for the longest time. But like I said, we all have a number, so I don't know how long that's going to be, but I have to keep on working on that. And so I'm not going to dwell too much on it, because actually there's just a couple other death notes that I want to talk about. Yvonne Craig, who played Batgirl on the Adam West series that was on TV on ABC back in the 60s with Burt Ward, had passed away due to breast cancer that she had been struggling to fight for the past couple of years. She was also on Star Trek, in which she played an Orion slave girl who I think it was Gareth, who was kind of like his love interest in this. And I remember some of the stories about her and Shatner not being the nicest things because she didn't really like Shatner and was really not looking forward to kissing him and all that. So, but still, Yvonne Craig was and still in my mind a very beautiful woman. And the fact is that even today, looking back and how popular she still is, at least amongst comic book fans, but also librarians too, because in the series, she's a librarian. There's the ALA poster that has a picture of Batgirl, in her costume as well as the alter ego for being the librarian. So, it rings a certain nostalgia to me, because I never thought of myself in that light, that you are being empowered with knowledge, and that knowledge is like being a superhero. So it's kind of a cool thing, because people seek you out, seek your help with information on whatever they're looking to do. Kind of like how this woman called me up about is China still a communist country? And of course, I don't want to say, yeah, it is, but I want to make sure I get my facts straight. So I looked it up and double checked, and sure enough, it was. And she said, well, thank you very much. You helped me win $5 from my husband today. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's, part of the job. It wasn't anything great, but I did my job right. Well, and someone got paid. So the other note that I wanted to talk about was Bud Yorkin. Bud Yorkin, his claim to fame was that he also was a director, actor, producer, but he did a lot of producing with, I'm blanking out here, in the 70s, a lot of the shows that he did, what was it? All in the Family, Good Times, Death vs. Son, and Norman Lear, he was partners with him, and then he broke off his own group, in which he had a success in What's Happening and Carter Country. But to me, again, the Sci-Fi connection was that he was the executive producer or co-executive producer that I believe was not credited, but he is in the credits of doing Blade Runner, the movie with Harrison Ford. And so I've always remembered that name. I've always seen that credit back in the 70s growing up, and seeing him again on the screen in the 80s, it was just like he has this weird connection. So again, he died in a very old age, which I'm not knocking. I mean, he lived to like 89. I didn't think Yvonne Craig was 87. So these are long lives. And here I'm thinking, on my birthday, because it wasn't a great birthday to begin with before the news came down, that I still have time, and I want to believe I have a long life ahead of me, and that's the reason why I still run during my lunches when I can, and I try to encourage and get my family to be on a healthier plan, and they have been, which I'm so proud. Just because it's been a struggle to get them to go and be motivated. And it's hopefully something that's kicking in for them. Because for me, I never thought I could run. Ever. But I've always believed, because there was this little girl growing up that I would see running in the freaking marathon in New York City. And I'm like, why can't I do that? And I thought about it back when I was a teenager, and I kind of ran for a bit, but never thought I could ever run a marathon, let alone a half marathon. So it's not until I was laid off, and for that year struggling to find work and had nothing else going for me, what could I do? I had this one idea, and that was just simply run. That's the only thing that I had to do. And every day that I did it, it was hard. It wasn't easy. But it got me through a lot of pain. And it made me healthier. it got me to the point that I could do a half marathon, that I could do an actual marathon. But it was taking that first step to get to that point in which it clicked in that this is what I needed. And I can't put that kind of experience, that kind of inspiration into someone else unless something clicks in for them. Sorry. So it's clicking in now, and I'm hoping that it stays. But again, I want to have a long life as much as I can. And it's what I strive for, because I have so much that I want to do, still to do. And continuing doing this podcast, doing my writing, doing my running, sharing great times with my friends, doing wonderful things, continuing with my career as a librarian. You know, I put in the effort. I put in the time. I need to enjoy all that comes with that. So, I'm just going to leave it right there, because I'm don't want to start quoting really bad, not bad, but, you know, sad quotes that every once in a while I throw that at my co-host partner, Mr. Gene, and he knows him all too well, and I'm not going to go down that road. But just remember that, you know, life is what we have, and we have to take care of ourselves. Take care of the people around you. Make sure you tell them how much you love them. That's all we have to do. Because in turn, we're going to need to have that love given back to us when we're ready to go. And that's all I can hope for. So, don't forget, I'm still doing the podcast interview with Amy S. King, and it's coming up on this next Tuesday, so the day after the first day of school, which is I'm really looking forward to, just so they can get out of the house and do something other than be in the house. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm almost done with one of her books, which, again, a big milestone for me, getting back into reading. So, if you have any questions for her or comments, you can email me at monsterscifishow@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter with the Monster Sci-Fi Show handle, the Scifi handle, I should say, SYFY. And, of course, you can find more information on my Facebook page, Monster Sci-Fi Show on Facebook. And that's about it. I'm really sorry that, you know, this is not a happy, geeky, well, geeky to some degree, a more upbeat podcast. Again, it's been a difficult week, and even while recording this, I'm talking to you because I just need to get this off my chest. You know, my mom now is in the hospital, and she's going to be admitted because of what's been happening. And I'm hoping that it's nothing more than just of everything that's been going on with our family. But I'm sure she's going to be okay, because she is a strong woman, and, you know, we have an incredibly enduring gene in us to kind of continue going through the hardships. So, if anything, she'll be around for another couple of years, if not 20 or more, or whatever. Again, everyone has a number. All right, folks. Thank you for listening to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. Sci-fi from a certain point of view.